and welcome to Finextra. I'm Thea George and I'm here with Dan Marovitz of Earthport. Dan, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
So what do you think will be the impact on bank business models of the growth of the fintech industry?
So I think the first thing that's important to realize is that this relatively trumped up story which has occurred in the media in the last couple of years around the battle between fintechs and the banks is basically a nonsense, right? And I think it's important to look at it from two perspectives. The transactions that exist in the world, the retail transactions and the corporate transactions, are really owned by the banks. And they're owned by the banks for reasons of history and for reasons of scale and size and balance sheet, and also, frankly, because of governmental protection that helps to secure their position as the keeper of those flows. On the other hand, I think it's also fair to say that the innovation that happens in the financial world is really now happening in the fintechs. From a genetic perspective, the banks are just not established in such a way, they're not set up in such a way to really go after innovation in a way that is effective, that is cost effective, that is efficient or as fast. And so from the one perspective you could say, well, we have an impasse, transactions on one side, innovation on the other, but actually what we have is a fantastic symbiosis. So what we have is an ecosystem of fintech companies which serve as effectively the practical innovation lab of the financial industry, and the financial industry itself, which has a need for speed, has a need for innovation, and they are the keeper of the transactions. So I think what you're seeing at Sibos 2016 is that those two players in this larger ecosystem are coming together, and they understand it's not a battle, it's a partnership.
So if we turn to one key area of innovation, distributed ledger technology, how do you think banks can leverage that to deliver real value to customers?
I think distributed ledger it's a very large conversation, and it's a complex one. It's one which plays out in a whole variety of different areas of endeavor within the financial services industry. So it's by no means just a payments play, it's by no means just a trade finance play, it's by no means just a securities processing and settlement play. It really is all those things. It is a fundamental infrastructural technology which has the opportunity to change and really revolutionize many aspects of the way that financial services are constructed and geared together. And I think what you see this year is that there's still a lot of excitement, there's still a fair amount of hype around it, but we're starting to move at least into indications of use cases that are real and tangible, where banks can point to something which is outside of the lab. But I think it's going to be a journey of quite some time. It's a regulatory challenge, it's a cultural challenge, and it is in many ways a very practical challenge, which is that banks have been under huge pressure now since the crisis, going back 6, 7, 8 years now. They're under huge pressure with legacy systems for the traditional product that they have to upgrade. They're also under increasing pressure from a regulatory perspective, both in terms of compliance and things like regulatory capital, which just takes away their ability to make money. And so as a result of that, their ability to implement a lot of the distributed ledger technologies at scale very quickly just isn't there. And so I think there's real interest, there's real progress, but it's going to be a wait. It's going to be a period of time. I think what we see here though is that traction is building, and we're moving from interest in POC into early stage real money movement, at least in the payment space, which is great.
So based on all of this, what's your vision for the future of the payments industry?
The payments industry is one which has existed, obviously, to the dawn of commerce, and it's one that has followed humanity as it's moved through history. If you look at the payments industry, really is something which began in the 1970s as electronic interaction and computers entered banking. That's really the launching point. And amazingly and somewhat depressingly, there are still not a small number of systems and processes which are from those dark old days of the 1970s that are with us today. And so for many, many years, it was possible to build a kind of sexy web front end onto something which connected to a very legacy back end. And consumers and corporate customers were kind of fooled, or maybe said a better way, were willing to accept some of the clunkiness and the slowness that came with it. The problem is that we increasingly live in a truly on-demand world. And in a world of apps, in a world of streaming content, in a world of software as a service, where things are signed up for, integrated, purchased, delivered instantaneously, it just is no longer credible. It's no longer palatable for the users of the system to have a transaction be initiated instantaneously, a digital service or digital good delivered instantaneously, and a transaction to take 5 days to settle. It just doesn't make sense. And so I think the vision for payments from a macro perspective is that the experience for corporate customers, and certainly the experience in retail, and in many ways retail, as it often does, is quite a few generations ahead experientially from what corporate customers are expecting. Payments are now going to be forced to catch up. The experiential chasm between what you can anticipate in an experience in terms of buying a digital good, like a piece of software as a service, Salesforce.com, Zendesk, et cetera, and the expectation that the payment will kind of come when it comes, that no longer really works. And so I think that is the pressure point. It's the experience of the internet, it's the set of expectations that are set by the internet, and that retail consumer experience, which are going to drive the payments industry to modernize at a pace that we haven't seen before.
Dan, this has been great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching.